Paul, earlier as we went to the break, you were mentioning some of the quotes. David Hale, who covers the ACC very well, as they're right now, one of the things, and in the chat room, one of the things we've tried to do, there's been speculation on this show, but what we've tried to do is make sure that we don't try to grab everything that's thrown against the refrigerator to see if it sticks. So there's a lot of like Louisville's the 8th team and this and that. It's a lot more complicated than that. We love the passion. Paul, David Hale.
Yes. Per one ACC AD. Zero credence to the idea that 7 or 8 teams are looking to leave. Everyone has reviewed the GOR. Very close on a revenue-sharing plan that would reward on-field success. Any plan would then go to presidents for approval. Would not impact TV revenue, though. So that, to me, means the new playoff revenue would be split up more based on who was actually in it.
Right, that's what they've talked about. I mean, you win more games, you make more money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty simple, and it's not, something that you'll love if you're a bottom feeder most of the time, because that means less money is heading your way, but that might be what you have to do. Again, this could all just be an empty threat, but I would imagine that if you're going to sit there and puff your chest out and, threaten to go leave for somewhere else, and there's probably a pretty good chance that even if it's just, some football sweet conversation that's entirely off the record, there are conversations that at least these schools puffing out their chest know they do have landing spots somewhere else, right? Because you kind of have to know that in order to feel like you're going to sit there and really, go all in on this. But, yeah, I mean, the unequal revenue sharing, something that's been mentioned with the ACC when it's been brought up here over the last year. So if that's the way they go, that will be very interesting. And we know others have tried it and not had a whole lot of success, so that would be intriguing.
The revenue sharing would not be for what they do in a regular season. It would be for the college football playoff money, correct?
Yeah, which is all huge new money coming in from the 12-team playoff.
So wouldn't it, whatever they're doing now, 36, 39, 42, the numbers don't matter to me, but just throwing it out there, they matter to whoever's getting them. But so, again, this is from David Hale. Let's again, any plan that would go to president, here's the deal. It doesn't mean that Duke or Wake Forest won't get what they're getting now, and that will be eaten into by Florida State, Clemson, and the others. It will be whatever you do in the postseason. That's where the revenue would then be, I guess, unequal.
Yes, and the ACC actually has they're kind of like the Big 12 in that Oklahoma won the Big 12 pretty much every year. For a long time, and other than kind of some, off and ons. But FSU and Clemson have won, of the last 30 Pac or ACC titles, they've won like 24 of them.
Have they really?
Yeah, I mean, so it's been all those two schools. Wake Forest has got a couple. Maryland had one once, not even a league anymore. So you go the last 30 years of the ACC, really, most of it is, since FSU joined the league, it's mostly been Florida State. And then there's some that are, shared, like Virginia shared one time. But as far as, if you take those two out of how many ACC titles you have,
24.
It's a lot. It's a ton. It's really,
I did not
realize it is way out of whack. So it's not surprising that those two are leading the charge. It's funny to me that North Carolina's in on this because they haven't won an ACC football title. I mean, I don't know since when, but
I was going to say the revenue sharing part of the SEC, for example, that's not just the playoff teams that share, and that's everything. That's the SEC championship game, men's basketball tournament, NCAA championships, a supplemental surplus distribution. So I'm just saying that, if you're not very good, that's going to cost you money. And so that's all I was getting at was you win more, you make more, but if you don't win a ton, then
I wonder, if the unequal revenue sharing, like, for example, there are how many teams, Paul? 14 in the ACC?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If it's football money in the postseason, that doesn't mean if you're Wake Forest or you're Duke that you won't get something. You just won't get an equal share. You're still going to get something out of teams making the postseason.
Right, but I think, more than getting caught up on the revenue sharing part, the top line, zero credence to the idea that 7 or 8 teams are looking to leave. Everyone has reviewed the GOR per an ACC AD. Now, again, it could be, somebody saying something and, meaning something else or whatever, but there was also some more Pac-12 comments, if y'all would like those quickly before we get to Mac Rhodes.
Yeah, and we'll discuss that with Ross Dellinger and also Brandon Marcello because, it looks like there's a little surge coming out of some of what ACC met, the Pac-12 met, and so there are some responses, comments, quotes, sources coming out of those.
Yeah, so Ray Anderson, who talked, I guess it was about a month ago, and nothing's happened really since then except for just more talks, but he said today that I'm very confident in the long-term viability. The 10 schools are solid, talking about the Pac-12. He says it will be summertime, July, or perhaps August when the media deal is announced. Then the grant of rights will get signed and the focus will turn to expansion. And he mentions that potentially looking at expansion makes sense and actually apparently named both San Diego State and SMU. The thought of expansion is real and could come quickly. This is all via Brad Denny, mind you, and I'll look up where he's from in a second. But I guess Ray Anderson also, he said, so TV deal around the corner, which, they've been saying that, but July, perhaps August, though, so maybe even a little further back. The idea of anybody looking elsewhere is nonsense. The notion, though, of looking at expansion, and particularly San Diego State and SMU, he did confirm that, and then said, as far as Arizona State looking elsewhere, there's been no internal talks about other conference homes because we are a solid, important member of the Pac-12. No discussion about other conferences. Only talks have been about conferences whose members want to come to our conference. That's from Ray Anderson of Arizona State.
Yeah, and I saw Jason Shear's response to that the last time he said something within 24 hours, what he said was not true. Here's another thing. What? No, go
I
ahead.
think you may be saying what I'm about to say.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
We kind of know that one of that's, at least part of that, is not all the way true.
By the way, if July and August,
we know that.
Yeah, if it's in July or August, San Diego State would like to have a conversation with you because remember their exit fee triples when I think it gets to July the 1st. Triples, not like 17 million, 51 million, and so that's something that's interesting too. So, hey, welcome to College Football Realignment. 95% of what's being in the chat room is about it, and there's a little bit of turf war and a little bit of we're better than you, and that's fine. Enjoy what we have, and we appreciate those of you who are watching the show.
Okay, I have a slight correction. It is 22 of the last 31.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah, so
That's
that
9 instead of 6.
that don't have Florida State or Clemson. And again, I'm saying like
Are you counting what Florida State or Clemson they shared too?
if there's a shared one, Florida State's shared a couple of them, but
That's
yes,
still, I didn't realize it was that dominant.
It's overwhelming. Florida State and Clemson.
It's well over 2/3. Well over 2/3. Almost 75% or more.
And if you even go back before to like a certain date, you can go. It's been Clemson or Florida State almost exclusively since about 1985.
Is FSU paying for this commercial? No, I'm
Clemson
just
should
kidding
be
with
too,
you.
but yeah.
We got a couple of Seminole folks, fans in the chat room. We appreciate that. Now,